Hi, mathletes! Today, we are going to continue learning about fractions. We've learned about the numerator and the denominator. We've learned that fractions are basically equal parts. But today, we're going to learn about adding fractions. And we're going to add like fractions. I'll explain more. Let's do a warm-up. You've been really good at identifying fractions. Let's look at the first donut. Can you take a moment and write down the fraction of what you see? How much of the donut do you see? Looks yummy with all those sprinkles. What did you write down? Well, I see 2 parts of what used to be 3 parts. So here's my 1, 2, my 2, and remember what that meant? Of 3. I had 2 of 3, but we say that's 2/3. Do you remember what that is called? That part of the fraction? Say it. Did you say numerator? It is. This is the numerator. This is what we see. Can you remember what this part of the fraction is called? Say it. Did you say denominator? You're right. This is the numerator and this is the denominator. We have 2 of 3 equal pieces. We have 2/3. We also want to practice reading and writing fractions. How would you write 2/3? Pause it and write 2/3. Great. Well, how I would write it is I would do, 2/3. Did you write it like that? And we would read it as 2/3. Let's look at the 2 donuts that we have left. Here's 1 hole. Here's 2 holes. I want you to write the fraction of each of these holes down as a fraction and also in words. Put it on pause and do so now. Great. Let's write down the fractional parts. I can see that the units that are here are 2 of 2 equal parts. But I also can see that 2 of 2 equal parts is a whole. Did you write that? So we know that if you have all 2 of the 2 parts, you have a whole. What's that called? Yep, it's the numerator. Did you say it? Yep, denominator. Wow, you guys are sure getting the hang of fractions. Last one with our warm-up. How many parts of the donut do you see? I think you're right. You see 2 of 4 equal parts. So there's 2/4 of the donut we see. And we would write it as 2. And then we would write 4ths. You can also say this and write it as 2/4. Now, we're going to do some adding. But first, I want you to draw a rectangle. Your rectangle is going to represent this pizza right here. So here is 1 whole pizza. Did you draw 1 whole pizza? Let's divide it into 4 equal parts. Did you divide yours into 4 equal parts? I'm going to divide mine into 4 equal parts. I like to do my halves first. Good. And then we'll check to make sure it's 4 equal parts. 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts, 4 parts. This part looks a little bit bigger than this part. Let me erase. Now I know, and you know, that we're not robots or computers, so it's okay if it's a little off. You just have to make sure that in your mind, you know that you're dealing with equal parts. Some of you are looking at mine saying, mine doesn't look like yours. That's okay. A lot of you might have done your equal parts like this. Both are right. I went with something you might not have done. So I'm going to keep it the way I have it for right now. So let's continue reading our word problem here. So Peyton eats 1 part. I'm going to put a P for Peyton because I know that she's eating 1 part of the 4 equal parts. So I'm going to put a P there representing that this is Peyton's part. So we know that Peyton eats 1 part. She eats 1 part of the 4 equal parts. She eats, what fraction would you write? Can you do it for me? Right. You know that she eats 1 of the 4 pieces. So she ate 1/4 of the pizza. Avery eats 3 parts. Avery must be hungry. She eats 3 parts of, I should have put a 4 there, there. She eats 3 parts of the 4 equal parts. She eats what fraction of the pizza? But before you even write that, let's just put A for Avery so that we know that these are the parts that Avery ate. Can you write the fraction of the pizza that Avery ate? What was your numerator? Great, your numerator was 3. What was your denominator? You're right, there was 4 equal parts. So we know that she ate 3 of the 4 equal parts. She ate 3/4. So Peyton and Avery ate how many out of the 4 equal parts? So if we look here, we know that they ate 4 out of 4 equal parts. And if we look, we know that's the whole pizza. So they ate the whole pizza. Let's continue to add like fractions. Roxanne ate of a donut. Let's look here. We're going to say this is what Roxanne ate. What fraction would you write? Did you write it? I see 1 of I see 1 of 5 equal units. So I know that it's 1/5. So Roxanne ate this 1/5 of a donut. Let's find out what Terry ate. Terry ate what fraction of a whole donut or of a donut? So this is what Terry's eating. Do you see those 2? Great. Write it as a fraction. He ate 2/5 of the donut. What fraction of the donut did they eat all together? What fraction of the donut did they eat in all? Well, what do we know? We know that Roxanne ate 1/5 of the whole donut. We know that Terry ate 2/5 of the donut, and we're trying to figure out how much of the whole donut did they eat. This feels like addition. So I'm going to put my addition sign. So if I were to add 1/5 plus 2/5, I would get 3/5. Do you see the 3/5? 1/5, 2/5, 3/5. So they ate 3/5 all together. Now, we're going to use models to add like fractions because we don't always have fraction circles at home or fraction bars at home or even like cute little graphics that Miss Costello found on the internet. But what do we have? We always have our drawing hand. So using models is a great way to add like fractions. And it also helps our understanding. So I'm going to write a problem down. I'm going to write 1/4 plus 1/4 equals how many? Well, notice our denominators are the same. That's why we call them like fractions. So how would I use a model to help me? Well, I'm going to draw a hole. I'm going to draw a whole rectangle. Now, when I look at my denominator, I know I want to break my whole into 4 equal parts. Now again, we talked about we're not computers or robots, so it's not going to be perfect, but we try to make them look as equal as possible. But in our brains, we know that when we're dealing with fractions, they're equal groups. So let's look here. We've got 1/4. I'm going to shade in 1/4. So I have 1/4. And I'm going to look at this fraction. And I'm going to add another 1/4 there. So how many fourths do we end up by having? 2/4 are now shaded in. So I know that 1/4 plus 1/4 would equal 2/4, and I use the model to show me. Now get ready, it's going to be your turn. I'm going to write an addition problem down for you. Let's see. I'm going to make 1/3 plus 2/3. Now, I want you to draw a hole. Did you draw a hole? Now, how many equal parts are you going to break the hole you drew? Let's see. How many equal parts are you going to break your hole into? Look at the denominator to help you. You're right. You're going to break your hole into thirds. Wonderful. Here's my one whole rectangle, and I broke it into thirds. Now, I want you to shade, maybe make it your pencil darker for this one. I want you to shade in 1/3. Great, so press hard on your pencil because we want to have like a light gray and a dark gray. So did you shade in one of the 3 pieces? Fabulous. Now, with another color or lightly shading with your pencil, I want you to shade in 2 of the 3 pieces. Shade in the 2/3. Nice. Great. So 1/3 plus 2/3 equaled 3/3. But we can also call it something else. We can call it 3/3. But if we look carefully, when you shade in 3 of all the 3 pieces, you shaded in everything. So you shaded in 1 whole. So 3/3 also equals 1 whole. Well done. Now it's your turn. It's a let's practice. On your piece of paper, I want you to write down these 3 problems. 1/5 plus 2/5, 1/2 plus 1/2, 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. Good luck. You can take a picture and upload it onto Google Classroom. Thanks a lot.